sports. I was scrolling through the old Twitter machine today, and I saw a tweet, said taps Mike, clears throat. LSU is winning a national title in 2025. That tweet was authored by Connor O'Gara from Saturday Down South, and I thought, well, I've got his phone number. Let me text him and see if he'll come on and say that on my show. So we will. Connor joins us now on the Jim's Fire and Sightline. Connor, thanks for the time. How are you on this Monday?
Doing really well. Some would say that I just joined, or I just, probably threw that out there just so that I could join your show and get the great people of Baton Rouge fired up.
Well, let's do it. I appreciate it either way. I don't feel like that was probably the intention, but it certainly was the result. Why do you feel this strongly about LSU as we sit here in May?
I'm one of these people that has looked at everything Brian Kelly has done and just been amazed at everything that we've seen in the portal suggests this is a team that senses urgency. And you could have probably assumed that LSU would act this way after Garrett Nusmeier announced that he was coming back. But let's not forget, at this time last year, everybody's dragging Brian Kelly because he's the one talking about the bidding war and, it's Dominic Williams. They don't want to go after this guy or that guy in the portal. Do they really get it? Are they really built to win in this day and age? And then you look at this roster and what it's become really since the beginning of December. And to me, they've just addressed every single key area of need. And if I'm winning a national championship in this year, 2025, wherein the 12-team playoff exists, I'm not necessarily caught up in, do they have, the pieces to go 12-0. I think LSU will lose a regular season game, but I think by the end of this playoff run that they go on, they will have all of these things figured out. And I think that Brian Kelly has finally put together a roster, he's finally put together a coaching staff, and he's finally put together a belief that LSU is all in, and that's why I think they get it done this year.
Would you take Garrett Nusmeier over the other 15 quarterbacks in the SEC?
I would. I've been saying that since, when was my first way too early ranking? Probably January, I think. And I understand the flaws. I think he could actually get better as a downfield passer despite what his profile suggests he is. I think that'll happen with someone like Nick Anderson on board, someone who I think people forgot about because he had a lost 2024 season, but in 2023 at Oklahoma was the only player at the FBS level that had double-digit touchdown catches that averaged 20 yards per catch that was doing that at the Power 5 level. So to me, this is a receiver room that has gotten significantly better around Garrett Nusmeier. And Aaron Anderson, someone that people don't talk about enough. I ranked him as my number 3 receiver in the SEC coming into this season, only behind Ryan Williams and Cam Coleman, because what he did out of the slot to emerge as Garrett Nussmeier's go-to threat was huge last year. And, the late Kyron Lacey, he endured a lot of ups and downs, and Aaron Anderson was kind of the steadying force. Now he returns, and he's got 2 pieces on the outside that'll complement him really, really well. So I like everything that Garrett Nusmeier has to work with, and I like another year of being able to work with Joe Sloan in that offense to understand where those reads are so that he's not having some of these predetermined mistakes that obviously cost him at different points last year. But I just think he can do everything that you want a passer in this day and age to do.
I don't think many people in Baton Rouge have a lot of concerns about the passing game. I think everybody understands that LSU is going to throw it pretty well next year. The running game is a big point of contention because they just had 4 offensive linemen drafted, and they couldn't run the ball behind that group. So do you feel like the running game should take a step forward even with those 4 guys out the door?
Did they have a true identity last year that Brian Kelly liked? That's the point that I think is worth remembering, because they had Caden Durham step up and become what looked like a guy, and then it never really kind of formed into, well, he's going to get 20 carries a game. You can trust him to be like, hey, he's 120 scrimmage yards. And I think so much of that was because LSU felt the need to throw the football. They felt like that was their true strength. The way that their offensive line was built, they're like, we know we can pass protect. We're not necessarily this break you open, huge, massive holes type of ground game. And I think this year, with the moves that they've made in the portal, they have the potential to be that. Now, I don't necessarily think they need to be a world beater ground game to get the job done. I think the key thing, and the thing that every LSU fan should be looking for, can they close a football game running it? Because they couldn't last year, and that was to their detriment. It cost them at several different points, most notably that season opener against USC. But to me, it's more so about running in situations than putting up 200 rushing yards a game or something like that, because the passing game should be able to do a lot of the heavy lifting.
We know what championship level defense looks like around here, and they hadn't been anything close to that really since 2019. What gives you the confidence that LSU's defense will rise to that championship level from what it's been the last 3 years?
You can be a top 20 defense and win a national championship. Now, so much of the question is going to focus on what are they looking like with that interior defensive line. The Bernard Gooden addition coming over from South Florida is going to be really important with that. If he's able to step in post spring and provide that lift in the interior, that's going to be really big. But Whit Weeks coming back healthy and looking like the guy is going to plug a lot of different holes, I think, and that's going to be something that is worth well documenting because of the Harold Perkins return too. And how did those guys play alongside one another with Perkins playing at the star position, not necessarily having this full off season of reps because both guys are coming back from injuries and whatnot. That's going to be the thing that we're going to talk about a lot probably in the first part of the season, understandably so. But I think Mansour Delane coming over from Virginia Tech is going to also plug up a lot of holes in a secondary that has had no shortage of those over the course of the last few years. And I just think the year two step that they'll take in Blake Baker's defense, where they're not necessarily going to have to be wondering about their specific roles the first month of the season. Oh, how does Harold Perkins fit in best? They're going to have these things figured out. To me, that gives me a lot more confidence that this group cannot necessarily be a liability that it's been really for much of the 2020s.
Connor O'Gara is our guest. You can follow him on Twitter at CJ O'Gary's with Saturday Down South. Thinks the Tigers are a national championship pick in 2025. As I look at this LSU team, there's some that are suggesting now or never for Kelly. You got the investment from the boosters. You went hard in the transfer portal. You've got the fifth-year senior quarterback. Do you feel like it's a now or never type proposition for Brian Kelly, or do you feel like the window remains open even if this is a disappointing year?
I think it's now or never. And I think it's now or never from the standpoint of Brian Kelly winning a national championship at LSU. I don't think now or never describes his job security for this year. I don't think that means, oh, man, he's getting fired if they don't do X, Y, and Z. Now, if they're missing the playoff this year and this is a team that never really puts it together, it's an 8-4 regular season, and we're looking up at the end of the season going, man, I don't think Garrett Nusmire is even a first-round guy, sound the alarms. That's going to be perfectly fair. And as someone that is predicting great things for this LSU team, I will say, man, Brian Kelly is not the coach that I thought he was, because there's no reason why this team shouldn't be not only competing for an SEC championship, but competing for a national championship. And especially at a time when, let's remember this too, there's not the big bad Nick Saban. There's even Kirby Smart coming off of consecutive years in which the team has failed to make it to the semifinals. There's not this dominant, inevitable force in the SEC, and that could benefit a team like LSU that just needs to kind of hit those right notes in the key spots, and they're going to have no shortage of opportunities to be able to do that. I'm interested to see what it's going to look like if they have potentially multiple games against an SEC contender like Alabama, like I've projected for them to be able to have one of the regular season, one of the playoff. But yeah, this is a now or never year with the talent that Brian Kelly has, a very much no excuses type team.
Well, we're going to learn pretty quickly, and right out of the gates going to Clemson. Do you feel like LSU is ready for that? They've lost 5 season openers in a row.
Reluctantly so, I do. And I'll say this. It's one of the more bizarre things in the world that LSU hasn't won a season opener game since 2019. Yeah. I mean, I cannot fathom how absurd that is. I've been meaning to look this up. This is an off-season project of mine to see if LSU is the only power conference team to have not won a season opener in the 2020s. If it's not, that list is really low. I mean, let's not forget, Vandy even beat Virginia Tech last year. So like that list is dwindling in a hurry. But here's the thing. They can lose that season opener and still get to all the places that LSU is being projected by crazy people like me. That can still happen in this day and age. Ohio State just showed us you can be 10-2 if you have a team that has that high ceiling. That's what it's all about in this day and age. Are we overrating Clemson a little bit? Just a little bit, because last I checked, that team went 0-3 against SEC competition last year. And I realize it's a little bit different as we're talking about LSU in season openers, Brian Kelly in season openers, all those things. I get it. But we're getting a little bit ahead of our skis to assume that all of a sudden Clemson's going to be dominant against the run, to assume that all of a sudden Clemson can run the football, which was something they could not do to save their lives last year. might be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. And let's not forget, Louisville went into Death Valley and dominated. South Carolina went into Death Valley, won that game last year. So is LSU capable of doing that? Yes, despite what 2020's history would suggest.
He's Connor O'Gara. You can read all his stuff at Saturday Down South. We'll catch up SEC Media Days next month. Connor, thanks for your time.
Hey, appreciate it, man. He
is Connor O'Gara. Saturday Down South thinks the Tigers are a real threat to win the national championship. In fact, his pick to win the national championship in 2025. It's going to be a fascinating offseason and a really fascinating season. That's the long and short of it, because there are a lot of people that agree with Connor that it's now or never for Brian Kelly and LSU. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I heard T-Bob say the same thing as well. Like, if LSU goes out there and goes 9-3 this year and doesn't make the playoff at 9-3, kind of like Ole Miss did, like, I think you just go get more good players and try again the next year. Like, I don't think every single possibility is shoved into this right here. Like, I think it's important. I think they've got a real chance. I think they made a big investment, but like, there aren't that many schools that can win the national championship. And LSU is obviously one of them. And they will be the next year and the next year and the next year. So I'm not one to put all of the eggs in one basket, because I just don't think that's the reality. But I'm on an island with that, because obviously, like T-Bob said that, and Connor feels the same way as well. So we'll see. But it's going to be a highly anticipated year, to be sure. So thanks to Connor for giving us a little time here on this Monday Talk a Little Football with us. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.